And single shines the triple sun. What was sundered and undone shall be whole, the two make one, by Gelfling hand or else by none. By Gelfling hand? Do you know what that means, Kira?
Wait. This is a piece of the dark crystal.
Then that's what my master meant.
Yes.
Peace. Y'all know what it is now, the vibrate. And there's so many layers to this one. As I think of the subject matter, how, seeds are just seeds being used as currency, And this again, just showing you like the intentions in speaking on this is just, giving examples of how everything, again, like it's different layers in the experience of like, you could be talking about seeds, like the actual seeds that you plant in the ground, but then also related to the seeds on a sexual level, you know what I'm saying? Like the semen, seed in the egg, you know what I'm saying? You could also, again, like as above, so below, the seeds that you plant mentally, you know what I'm saying? Mental seeds, you know what I'm saying? When you, matter of fact, just like I gave the intention of this video, it's like, all right, I'm planting this seed. My intention is to, plant this seed, come 2 weeks from now, I'm planting a seed for this fruit to grow, or this goal to come into fruition, fruition. But anyway, you know what I'm saying? And what really, brought me to speaking on this, as I'm, for one, been guided to a lot of these books, expressing, the connection with the dragon energy, and all of the ancient bloodlines, and this, this connects to, the Draco constellation, this connects to, some of our ancient ancestry, because it's a situation where you got to be aware that, part of the dragon energy is connected to our lineage. And then part of it is, again, as we're talking about seeds, like part of it is GMO, you know what I'm saying? And matter of fact, like, I think of this example. Now, you don't have to be watching this show to get it, but using it as an example, because all these shows, like, is pointing to this, when I think of, matter of fact, you got the Serpent Queen, and you also got the House of the Dragon that stems from, what they call it? Game of Thrones, you know what I'm saying? And, I think of the daughter of the king of the, basically the Dragon King on the House of the Dragon. His daughter, grows up, and again, even her marriage, again, like selling seeds, because everything is about, we're going to betroth our children together, you know what I'm saying? Like literally, you're seeing multiple layers, again, like if you want to say gene splicing, or, like, again, like trying to match DNAs together, you know what I'm saying? Like trying to come up with these geniuses through matching up certain genes, Give me 1 second. Sorry. I have to hold this. But yeah, it's like putting DNAs together to match up these genes. And again, in the House of the Dragon, you got the daughter of the king, now for one, her dad trying to get arranged marriages, you know what I'm saying? But basically it's almost like selling their children, it's like children was like a form of currency. Like, you could marry my daughter, if you sell me these 3 cows, you know what I'm saying? Or, you know, I'll be your servant if you marry our children together, you know what I'm saying? It's like, basically, like, again, like just slinging kids around, you know what I'm saying? On some, like the currency, you know what I'm saying? Again, you could look at it as like, you know, like seeds, because even now, you know, you hear a lot of people speaking on actual seeds, you know, that we plant. I mean, not to say that these are actual seeds, but, you know, like seeds as we know it from a plant perspective, you know what I'm saying, becoming important due to the fact that, you know, like growing our own foods and stuff like that, you know, and seeds becoming like a currency, you know what I'm saying? Like, especially having organic seeds, you know, like to grow watermelons with seeds in them, you know, speaking of that, you know what I'm saying? Like, you don't want the watermelon without seeds, you want the watermelon with seeds. Now this, again, not to get all into the health thing, you know what I'm saying? To each his own on what fuels you feel is best for you, you know, what you feel and your energy feel is best for you. But with anything, we know that, again, you want the most organic thing possible. But again, there is a fact that, you know, what we're learning right now is, you know, as we go through different seasons and cycles as beings, you know, you go through different realms, different worlds, you go through different eras. You know, at one era, you know, it was smart to do one thing that now if you do it may be dumb, you know, or considered dumb or ignorant, you know what I'm saying, to do, you know what I'm saying? And depending on location, you know, in a dry area, it's smart to have water for sale, you know what I'm saying, compared to where they got a bunch of water, so the value of water is low, so it don't make sense to sell water per se, you know what I'm saying? Like, so you got all those different factors. So, you know, being aware of the way cycles, you know, change these different things, you know what I'm saying? Hence why we gotta, you know, stay flexible in our energy and not overly identify with certain things or become stiff to certain ideas, aka, oh man, I'm just rocking with paper money, you know what I'm saying? I ain't fucking with that digital Ethereum shit, you know what I'm saying? Like, again, being stiff, you know, and you're not able to make the shift, you know, jump through the portal with the changes of, you know, what's happening right now, but bringing it back full circle, you know, again, with the example with the seeds, and this also connecting with, you know, quote unquote, holy grail, you know what I'm saying? And it's tied into, you know, a lot of the stuff, again, that I brought up, you know, connecting it to, you know, Dan Winter's work, you know, let me see right quick. But, you know, this also talks to our own hygiene, the hygiene of the seeds, you know what I'm saying? Like a seed grows through having a certain healthy electromagnetic field, you know, all right, this guy here. And let's see. Let's see if I can get the right part. But just so you can see the name of it, the name of the video. The first light, an introduction to the Baruch Foundation. But basically breaking down like how the toroidal field, in essence, like the different layers of a toroidal field, like if you have a certain little strip around that toroidal field, you know, it comes up with a shape that actually creates the Hebrew letters, and the Hebrew letters said to come from a flame, you know, and it's all connecting again with the dragon energy, seeds / bloodlines, or the Holy Grail, you know what I'm saying? And without going too far into that right now, but again, you know, that video and that research tying the toroidal field and sacred geometry into, you know, the Hebrew letters. And again, at first was the word. And when you think about that, a dragon spit fire, you know what I'm saying? So the first words of a dragon probably got some fire connected to it. In a lot of Gnostic scriptures, you know, you go check out the Gnostic scriptures, you know, they bring up how, you know, part of this realm, you know, also deals with like, you know, like shadows, you know, and no coincidence that the Hebrew letters in essence is shadows of, you know, of this flame shape spoken on again in this video. But it's basically like showing like, again, like how all this insight and information ties together, you know what I'm saying? Because that's the name of the game, is, you know, going to multiple references along with your own inner gnosis and what you done experienced from, you know, meditation, psychedelic journeys, dreams, you know what I'm saying, along with the research you done came across. But anyway, in the House of the Dragon, the king, you know, wedded his daughter to basically like another family. You know, that's another thing, like, you know, they're married brothers and sisters together, you know, uncles and nieces, whatever, you know what I'm saying, to keep the bloodline pure, you know, and that comes from that seraphim energy or that reptilian energy, you know, of like purity, you know what I'm saying, like not wanting to, you know, mix genes together, because again, some beings feel like, no, you gotta, and again, there's positive and negatives to both, you know what I'm saying? Like in some cases, you do want to keep a certain, you know, keep your bloodline strong, you know what I'm saying? And then in some cases, you know, you may create some form of, you know, evolution through mixing certain DNAs together, you know what I'm saying? You think about the esoteric name for a chimera, but like with a cat, you know what I'm saying, where a house cat or domestic cat, you know what I'm saying, has like, it's like a serpent or a reptile and a mammal, you know, together, you know what I'm saying? You see how a cat could, you know, got all these cool attributes, you know, but again, you have the fact that it could be, you know, helpful in some cases. And again, it depends on the era, you know. If things too GMO, then maybe it's a moment to, you know, keep the bloodlines pure. But if things like the bloodline so pure that there's, you know, no changes, things just kind of staying monotone-ish and, you know, to a point of becoming stagnant, then it's like, all right, let's mix things up a little bit, you know. And that's also, you know, with awareness of self, is like awareness of, you know, where we at in this realm, you know what I'm saying? Like, all right, what cycle we in, or what thing is most beneficial, like what changes need to be made, you know, in this now moment. But again, you know, selling the seeds being a big theme, you know, and again, you see it in all of these, you know, even in the, you know, biblical stories. And now again, this is also, like I say, allegorical or metaphorical or symbolic, you know, different things. So of course the seed again could be like plant seeds from a plant, you know what I'm saying? Your actual seeds, you know, sexually seeds on a thought level, you know what I'm saying? And whenever you talking about masculine and feminine energies in stories, you know, you also can be aware to connect that to the characteristics of the elements, you know. So if women are being spoken of, that's connecting to water and earth, you know, and the characteristics of water and earth, you know what I'm saying? Emotions, subconscious, intuition. When we talk about water, you know what I'm saying, and earth, the physical, the values, you know what I'm saying, just material things in general. And then, on the opposite side, you got the masculine energy, that's air and fire, it's talking about, thoughts, awareness or intellect, you know what I'm saying, more logic, movement into the future, because again, like the feminine aspect, the memory, the water holding to the past, and the air, the fire is like movement, like, moving forward, you know what I'm saying, not really staying in the same place, it's like, moving, and with any and all of this, again, it's not to make nobody or one thing the good or bad guy, you know what I'm saying? It's awareness of what may be the healthiest thing and what may not be, but it's no judgment. It's like, oh, this is all bad and this is all good, you know what I'm saying? But again, that's been the theme that's been coming up in, a lot of the collective, again, most likely experiencing this, seeing it again with all these different little shows, these Game of Thrones type of little shows, that's kind of going into this, and again, having different little factions, you know what I'm saying, different, different beings wanting different, outcomes and things of this nature. You know what I'm saying? A lot about the seeds, planting different seeds in the DNA, you know what I'm saying? And DNA just kind of like our blueprint, for our, ancestral connection, you know what I'm saying, in essence. Right here, again, reincarnated beings on the same mission. Some beings striving, or some beings looking for changes, some beings looking for things to stay the same, and some beings are looking for a proper balance between making changes and keeping some traditions. What I was speaking of in the memory video I did recently as well, And one may ask, because I was a strong advocate for the energy of intuition, like a lot of these books and stuff like that, you pick up on, the energy. I'm talking like how I was feeling, like you pick up on it without having to read, and part of that is true, you know what I'm saying? Like, again, even the fact that, a lot of beings right now, again, as I would always say, it's not like, Carl Jung or Edgar Casey and, all these people who done wrote books already or spoke on certain things like, oh, that's it. Like, they're the last book writers. Nobody else is going to channel any unique, different perspectives. So everybody just read everything that's already written. You know what I'm saying? It's like, no, a lot of beings are channeling, different perspectives and insight, just like grains of sand, you know what I'm saying? Like all those multiple little specks of sand on the beach, you know what I'm saying? I don't know how many beaches in this realm, it's just like the different perspectives, within this realm and within the, existence as a whole, existence and non-existence, so to speak. But, so, it's never to that point of like, oh, well, we just got to keep only reading, you know what I'm saying, from that perspective. But it does serve a purpose, it can help, you know what I'm saying. But what I was going to say is what does this have to do, You know, like, what does this have to do with me and my life right now? You know, because I know that energy could come up of like, you know, well, shit, I don't need to know, you know, all of the cosmology and, you know, where these beings come from and the history of Andromeda or, you know, or the Pleiadians or, you know what I'm saying? I don't care for knowing about the Anunnaki origins and all that, you know what I'm saying? Like, I know, you know, some may, you know, feel like that. And this is, you know, as I bring up this question, this how you could ask questions for yourself to get, you know, certain answers and insight, you know what I'm saying, from your inner being, spirit guides, higher self, however you say it, you know, because that's the thing. It's like, all right, you know, what does this have to do with me and my life right now? In so many words, like, all right, what happens if I don't study this? What happens if I don't know, you know, or I don't read about mythology, you know what I'm saying? Like, and, you know, you realize, like, just like with anything, you know what I'm saying? Like knowing where you're going, you know, like how you got a map. And not saying like you need a necessarily external map, but in some way, form, or fashion, put it like this, you're going to have some form of a map, you know, whether you know, internally, like, cause say for instance, now the people who could just pick up on things and which that's still, I even say still, they still kind of got some form of insight. Like, cause just because it's internal doesn't mean that you wasn't informed about the situation. You know, like say for instance, like, you know, you may get a dream about like not to work with this person. You know what I'm saying? Although you wasn't told like, hey, you know, you more of a water being from this, you know, connected to this DNA line, and they more of a fire being connected to this DNA line, you know, so y'all gonna clash. So, you know, don't work with them. You know, you may have not been told, you know, with those details, but again, you were told, you know, or should I say you channeled that insight, or, you know, or intuitively that insight came up, you know, for a reason, you know, again, like you still, or should I say it came up as like, again, like a map or some form of guidance, you know, we talk about spirit guides and inner guidance, you know, it's like a guide, you know, guiding you through things like a map. You know what I'm saying? Also how we speak on emotions being like a map, like a compass, you know, it's letting you know which direction you're pointing in. You know what I'm saying? So with that being said, you know, whether a person don't want to know the details or not, in some way, form, or fashion, though, you still gonna get, you know, the type of insight that's letting you know how to navigate through this realm. You know, so let's just say that much, you know, like you have to know how to navigate, you know what I'm saying? Now, the way you get that insight on how to navigate, you know, within your internal realm and externally, you know, that's all, for the most part, that's unique to your design, to your being, you know. But you will have to, you know, have some awareness in some way, form, or fashion. You know, could I even think of, like, you know, like as I do this out, it might be backwards. But, you know, like the yin and yang symbol with water, air, fire, earth. Not in any specific direction, you know what I'm saying? Because some may put the water down here, air up here, you know. But it's like the navigation, because you could be sometimes too far out this way or too far out that way, you know what I'm saying? It's like bringing ourselves back to center, you know what I'm saying? Like, in that, you know, equilibrium. And again, equilibrium doesn't necessarily mean, like, again, like some of us, you know, align with certain elements, you know what I'm saying, more than other elements. and that works best for us, you know what I'm saying? So if you are a person that connects a little more to the earth energy, you don't have to force yourself to be like a fire and air energy, you know what I'm saying? At the same time, again, what it is about and what is not really spoken on, again, is when we talk about integration and harmony, it's like creating harmony between those elements, though. So although it still exists within you, maybe at a small percentage, but even with that small percentage, it's like, how can I make that small percentage of air and fire, harmonize with the earth that I mostly tap into, you know what I'm saying? So it's like finding, that equilibrium in that sense, more so finding that harmony, you know what I'm saying? Just like doing, again, integration work, where you're integrating your different parts. Some people say, integrating different parts of your soul, different dimensions of your being, however you want to say it, but it's like integrating these different parts. And also, in a lot of, you're going to see it in a lot of shows, some of y'all don't watch shows or anything, but you know what I'm saying? But, shows, comics, all this, you're going to see a lot about, again, like psychology and the mental perspective of dealing with, spirituality, and also in connection with quote unquote time travel, So you're going to have a lot of shows where, this person jumped to the timeline when he was a child, or the child them jumped to the timeline when he was old. I think about Paper Girls, it's comic book, and a show now, but and literally though, that's psychological work as well, it's spiritual and psychological in the sense of like, mentally, you getting these parts of yourself to agree, because I think in one part of the show where, in Paper Girls, the girl Tiffany, as I'm thinking of it, as a little girl. So as I was saying, the little girl Tiffany in the show, she meets her future self, and she like, man, we supposed to go to MIT and be top of the class, because she found out from the future self or older self, that they didn't finish at MIT. You know what I'm saying? And start changing things up. She's like, no way, the younger self, like, no way I would have done that. You know what I'm saying? I would have finished MIT and this and that. And the older self was like, look, let's sit down for a talk. And again, you think about, the inner meditations, like visualization meditations where you go and hug your 5-year-old self, and vice versa, might go talk to your future self, same instance. And this all goes into also, again, knowing ourselves to the fullest, and in connection with, again, in some way, form, or fashion, knowing how to navigate, which again, like bringing up like, hey, well, why should I know about this mythology of the Anunnaki, or why should I know about this dragon stuff and this bloodline stuff and this holy grail stuff, you know what I'm saying? Again, because it helps for you to navigate, internally and externally, you know what I'm saying? But again, you may not, if you already getting the insight, in a manner where, you don't see, like say, for instance, if you could sense and feel that you're navigating things, properly, you know what I'm saying, then there's no need for you to be aware of those things in that sense. Your intuition, that you know how to navigate without having to let you know, like, hey, again, like I navigated you this way because this being is a trickster being that you shouldn't align with. Instead of giving you those details, it's like, hey, and it speaks more in inspiration. Intuition kind of inspires us to take a different action, and not necessarily makes us fear taking a certain action. So like, instead of telling you, like in a fearful manner to like stay away from them, ooh, it's like, no, like you could sense the energy. It doesn't feel, it doesn't feel cohesive. How about you work on this, that, or the third that you've been, intuitively guided to, you know what I'm saying? But anyway, again, just that connection. But with just drawing the story though, the little Tiff, again was just like, oh no, we should have went. So the older Tiffany, like, look, what you don't know is that we are adopted, you know what I'm saying? And that just crushed the little one, you know what I'm saying? And you think about like certain insight, one part of self, like, oh no, like I want to go and connect with this person, like a certain part, like say for instance, like kind of somewhat the same thing, like, that inner child, you like, I don't want to let go of mama, or I don't want to let go of daddy, because that's my daddy, that's my mom. And the older self, like, look, hey, you don't know in the future that type of energy basically prevents us from living the life that you truly would love to live, you know what I'm saying? But it's like having that inner conversation, but, the older self was like, look, we adopted. And after hearing that, you know what I'm saying, and being lied to by somebody who claimed to not lie to me, aka her adopted mom, she was like, that shift my perspective in life, you know what I'm saying? And, MIT wasn't just the main thing anymore, you know what I'm saying? But the younger self was like, and hence that energy, it's like allowing the younger self to come around to it because, that's where the spiritual, visualization techniques and things of that nature could come off as like new age, like, oh, you got to love your inner child or love yourself. But again, you do have to, again, like you would deal with anybody, you would, like anybody you connect with, you allow them that space to, get up to speed with certain insight or information, you know what I'm saying? Certain revelation or things of this nature, but that younger self was still kind of like like still feeling some kind of way, but she got to the space where she she's like, all right, I understand, I get it, still might feel like we should have stayed in MIT, to some extent, but it's still like that energy of like, but I get it, you know what I'm saying? So again, just seeing like doing that multi-dimensional, work with self, you know what I'm saying? And again, like bringing it back to the question of like, what does this have to do with me in my life right now, as far as like, learning about, again, like this, mythology or, tracing things back to the dragon bloodlines or what the bloodlines and the seeds and all this mean, again, what I brought up earlier, as far as like reincarnating beings, where some of us are, looking to make changes, all of us in essence, but, like, again, like certain beings looking to just mostly just be about changes, certain beings looking to mostly be about keeping things the same. And then you got some beings who looking to find that proper balance between making changes and keeping up with some traditions, because some traditions are meant to be kept. It's like certain things that we pass down because it's like, all right, this is the best way to do this, you know what I'm saying? Like, this shit don't need no tampering with, no changes, like keep this way of doing things, implemented. But it's some things that, and again, it's like using your intuition, you could see like, all right, this no longer works in this time. Like, being against technology or being against, again, like being against Ethereum or, or just being against cryptocurrency, being against technology, like that just won't, you know what I'm saying? Like that seems to not make sense right now, so keeping up with that tradition, like, well, oh, back in our day, we didn't even have AOL or this and that, you know what I'm saying? It's like, I hear you, but, we not back in that day, you know what I'm saying? And that's one of those examples, right there. That's a good example of seeing how, all right, that little tradition or the way you used to do things in that area, that needs to change, you know what I'm saying? because also the perspective of wholeness, like we grew up in a realm or in eras, most of us, what I'm saying? Like I think of being born in 87, but being born or coming into this realm, in that quote unquote year. But, it was a lack of wholeness or the awareness of or should I say, a lack of should I say wholeness, oneness, or just understanding that, everything's interconnected. And if I'm like, oh, I'm against the banks or I'm against, money, then you won't receive money, you know what I'm saying? And hence why, some of our families kind of had that lackful energy, in the family being passed down because they was against money because, the white people who enslaved us own money and I don't want to be like them, you know what I'm saying? It's like you got to shift that perspective in order to see that, shift, shift the subconscious programs in order to see a change, in the physical on that level. But again, it's like got to be able to maneuver, but again, you are one of the three archetypes of wanting to see things either, change, stay the same, or again, wanting to see that balance of, again, because change remains constant. And also some traditions should remain because it's better, just like I talk about some healthy habits, like some parts of lesson loops or some parts of cycles, let's just say, like brushing your teeth. That's a healthy cycle to keep, you know what I'm saying? Brushing your teeth or showering, like taking a bath, cleaning yourself, so as much as, again, like generally you think of the same routine over and over again. Hey, there's some routines that are healthy to keep. And then there's some routines that need to be changed constantly, you know what I'm saying? And being aware of that. So again, you are one of the three archetypes. Just by being present in this realm right now, you aligning with one of those three perspectives, and of course, ignorance or ignoring awareness of yourself and the environment, you know what I'm saying? That doesn't, that doesn't help you. And if you don't know yourself, in your environment and how to maneuver in your environment, you will lack authentic relationships. You will lack authentic actions, basically causing a bunch of friction, ignorant to the fact of what you're doing, and what you're, here to do, as I made an example, just simply like a gazelle trying to join a hungry lion pride. You know what I'm saying? Like you a gazelle, not knowing you're a gazelle, and you over there trying to, now, for what it's worth, of course you got like little miracle stories and things of this nature, you know what I'm saying, of like the gazelle who changed the mind of the hungry lion, you know what I'm saying? It's possible, you just want to make sure that, you know what I'm saying, that you definitely embody that power, you know what I'm saying, that sense. Like I always, bring up, like being able to put battery acid on your tongue and it not burn, you know what I'm saying? Like that's possible, but you got to know that you're subconsciously capable of that. You know what I'm saying? Don't just do it because you know that the mind has the ability to do it. Again, like I could read the book and know that the mind has the ability, the subconscious has the ability to be changed. But if I ain't changing it, you know what I'm saying, I better not try to do something that, my subconscious is not aligned with. You know what I'm saying? So again, and this all, again, just all goes back to, internal and external relations, being relatable, relating sunships, you know what I'm saying? Not just our sun sign when it comes to astrology or, the zodiac archetypes, but, relating sunships, like how do we, relate? And that goes into the whole aspect of, when I made the videos about, with the mental health, but then also the spiritual awakening where nothing is wrong with you, but you could come off as crazy because you're aware of certain things that most of society don't relate to. You know what I'm saying? When we go to talking about like I just did a post about, with the parasitic reptilians, that's trying to, working to keep, certain beings like under a spell of not being able to, you could say progress, not being able to, transform and grow spiritually, not, or just make the necessary changes, you know what I'm saying? For lack of a better word, you get what I'm saying? But, it's connected to, I almost kind of fell off of that. Again, like just the relatability and being able to relate and knowing what's going on internally and externally. You know what I'm saying? Oh, and that's what I was talking about, like, with the whole aspect of like mental health and stuff like that, because again, like I made the video about the crazy house, it literally is a jail for time travelers in essence, but most importantly though, again, it's for the time travelers who may lack tactfulness in expressing, what they know, because again, it's a fact that, that there's multiple dimensions that we're tapped into. Again, I just did the video on the being everything everywhere all at once or whatever. I think that's the name of the movie, you know what I'm saying? And all these multiverse movies in general, and again, back to the inner work, the multidimensional aspects of self, you know what I'm saying, and past lives, and there's a fact that, again, whether you look at it as just a lesson loop, but again, you're going through lesson loops because of certain parasitic energies inside of you. And those parasitic energies inside of you also have a representative, in the external realm, you know what I'm saying, that aligns with it. The same thing, like, again, if you're doubting doing something, then you align with people, places, and things that also doubt you. You'll end up putting yourself in an environment where most people doubt you, in that area, because you're doubting yourself in that area first and foremost. And then when you come out of it and you go back into that same environment where everybody doubting, it feels like, it's like a clash. It's like, all right, I know I'm going to create this and do this, and they doubt me. So it's like, all right, I have to move around, like I have to, and that's how I go again, internal, external, but it's both, it's relatability inside yourself and outside, Of course, we're going out of the hermit mode vibes every now and then, you know what I'm saying? We, some of us may, stick to ourselves a little more than we socialize, but in some way, form, or fashion, we have that ability to be relatable and connect in a manner that's harmonic, you know what I'm saying? And not just like every time we come across somebody, just clash, you know what I'm saying? It's like, and that also goes to, again, being on certain timelines as well, because if you find yourself, should I say, again, like, let's say like a timeline dysfunction, somewhat of the example I just made, like, all right, you started to, you was doubting yourself about something at some point, but then you started becoming courageous and confident about it, but as you was doubtful, you put yourself in environment A. Let's just say you're in environment A, where the doubtful people, places, and things that reflect your inner doubt is at. Once you become courageous and like, oh yeah, like I got this, if, and for one, it's not your job to try to change anybody. So as you start to become courageous, if environment A still, in alignment with you doubting yourself, that causes it's like a fragment, or like a, kind of like being on the wrong timeline, so to speak. If you try to stay in environment A, you know what I'm saying, where the doubt at, when internally you're in a dimension of environment B, you know what I'm saying, but still trying to be in environment A. So it's like a timeline mix up in essence, you know what I'm saying, so to speak, But that's basically, again, just the majority of the energy, right now, And for the most part, again, that's why the importance of being present, being in the now space where you have access to the past and the future. That's the time machine, and, making sure we, doing what we love, paying attention to, doing all the things that we, would love to do in this lifetime. And hence, again, like why you go within and get to know yourself to the fullest, because nobody else can tell you, who you are, on that level. Like you might get guided to, again, different books and people talking about stuff, but at the end of the day, it's like you got to sit with yourself and do that inner work to really, understand yourself, because again, the highest level of protection is knowing yourself to the fullest, like this is just helpers, crystals are just helpers, but the highest level of, of protection is, getting to know yourself to the fullest,